We'll give everybody a minute here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Here's the Deal. Shilo is not going to be on with us tonight. He had an emergency call for work, so he is currently on the road. I did send him the link, though, so hopefully he can pop on eventually, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about the Election Integrity Act. I got Michael Coachman and Lydia joining me today. Before we get to that, Tuesday's show, we confirmed this yesterday. Dave Ropeman, who just got hired by the NDGOP, is going to be on with us. We're going to sit and talk with him about a few different things, plans for North Dakota, what he foresees. We'll just kind of let that conversation go naturally. So sorry that we had the lack of intro here, but I'm still getting used to pushing buttons. So with that, I mean, we could say I fired Shilo for the night, but I don't want to sound like Luke. Love you, Luke. All right. With that, let's bring on Michael and Lydia. How are you doing tonight, guys?
Good.
Great, Marvin. How are you doing? It's a pleasure and honor to be here.
I am doing pretty okay for a finally Friday. Snow and all. I'll take it. Did you guys get anything where you're at? Or
A foot.
You got a foot?
Yeah.
Nice.
We got a couple
And
inches.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
sounds like
supposed to be gone, so.
Yeah, it sounds like the entire northwest corner kind of got rocked pretty bad, and
Yep.
that's where Shiloh's out working tonight. So, why don't we start with what got you guys inspired to do the act itself here?
Well, does Coach want to start? Or?
Well, we knew that there was issues back in the 2020, matter of fact, 2018 election, but we just couldn't get I'm going to say a lot of the people to see the things, and then as time progressed, we started seeing a lot of things from, I think what happened with Trump probably started generating more people to start thinking that there's issues. And then I know when I was at a roundup, GOP roundup in Medora, I brought up some of the issues when it came to votes being dumped on election night, which the Secretary of State office admitted to it, and it just started generating more interest there, but not enough traction, because especially here in North Dakota, it's hard to believe that such issues would happen here in North Dakota. And I'm pretty much talking about me, what got me pretty much interested in keep going in this, but I haven't really stopped since then, and got it with a group of people. We started seeing some of the things from the school boards in Fargo, Grand Forks, Dickinson, Williston, all these different things, like how is this happening? And then you got the complaints that were coming out, and it brought us to where we are today. And we pretty much said, you know what, we need to sit down, a group of us, and see what we can do to fix our elections. And when we came to this conclusion, we prayed about it and said, how do we want to go about doing this? And prayed for Lydia to be the chairperson on this. And what we thought was going to be an easy process, getting it all written up, all of this, turned into what would have been a downhill breeze, an uphill battle. And believe it or not, it wasn't from other parties. It was within our party. And it was like, oh, wow. But the main thing that we know where, as they say, you're flying over target is when we took our first into the Secretary of State's office. I'm going to give it to you, Lydia, because Lydia then wind up being a chill person. And Lydia, you go ahead and share from when you went to the what you brought you in and up to the Secretary of State's office until we are where we're at right here today.
Well, what brought me in was actually getting a chance to be on an election as a judge. So I gotta actually go through the whole process. And I know when we went through our training, he made a point that we were not supposed to hand off any of our election stuff to anybody else. That was supposed to stay within our hands, and we were supposed to keep an eye on it. And it was a major eye opener on our June election when we have an ES&S guy in our precinct. And at the end of the night, our county auditor told us to hand off that USB drive, which we were supposed to keep a hold of, to this ES&S guy, and that guy would haul it over to the county. And pretty much from that point on, I started to question some things that were going on because we were seeing fluctuations in our poll books. The totals were going up and down. We were having issues with the machines. Either they weren't running things through properly, or the 2 weeks before we had our November election, I had the chance to be there when they tested the machines. And I noticed that they had to run everything through multiple times to get the totals that the state told them they were coming up with. You don't do that on election night. If your papers are going through there, it's not going to be, you're not going to really know who got what vote. But with the test, they already know that ahead of time, so you're just testing to get the right points on it. And that made me wonder what problems we had with the machines. And then I got a chance to help with this Election Integrity Act, and we took it in the first time. And pretty much what we got back was, it looked more like a mini report. I know we had a lot of stuff in there, but they had totally avoided the fact that we wanted to have the machines removed, which that was our main goal. We needed the machines removed. We wanted to be hand counting paper ballots. And, people keep pointing out the fact that we already have paper ballots, and that's true, but we don't get to hand count them. They're actually tabulated through those machines. And on our second time through to the Secretary of State's office, that was the time that we actually got the title that we needed that said that there was going to be removal of those machines. There was going to be hand counting of those paper ballots, and also the fact that our county auditors need to be elected positions again instead of all these appointed ones that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, his analysis was what, 271 words long or something like that for your guys' title. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise that he called it back.
I'm sure it was.
I know I talked with both of you, and I kind of looked over this petition, but with already being signed on the property tax one, I didn't have time to balance two petitions at once. But I know I had sent back some suggestions, and they were just that, because there was a lot in that first one. I think we guys had 9 pages of meat and potatoes in the petition.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a big petition, but with what you guys did here, I mean, you really cleaned up a lot of the verbiage, which was nice. Before we get to it, like Lydia, I know for a fact that you had a lot of concerns about that June primary because you had reached out to me.
Yeah.
The point where you had submitted a signed affidavit, which I actually submitted to the Senate during the hearings for Senator Magrum on Senate Bill 2316. And a lot of what was brought up with my concerns during that bill and that hearing, which, I mean, Jeff was trying to accomplish what you guys are going after here now with this constitutional amendment. It was interesting because the senator that was chairing the committee, as I was telling what was going on, was going, well, that's illegal. They're breaking the law. And that's public record, folks. You can go find it and listen to the testimony yourself. I mean, I believe, Lydia, you testified for that as well.
Yes, I did.
And the thing that bothered me is we had 15 bills that came forward this last session. And I think only a couple of them passed, and they really didn't accomplish much. But anything that went after the meat and the potatoes of our elections, because people were concerned, really kind of got ignored or displaced. The one thing I did find interesting is part of what we did with 2316 is Representative Christensen kind of hijacked the bill a little bit when we took everything out of there that said decertified, and made it compliant with federal standards. And the bill got shot down, but they still added $1 million to the budget for the Secretary of State on the backside to further look into have a compliance. So in a way, they kind of said, yeah, maybe we should look at this a little bit more. And the big thing is like, we shouldn't have to question our elections in North Dakota.
No, we shouldn't.
There shouldn't, when you go out and speak on this, you shouldn't be able to ask a crowded room full of people whether or not they can say without a shadow of a doubt, or they feel without a shadow of a doubt, that our elections are possibly compromised. So without going the full route of we're going to pull on our tinfoil hats for the evening, like, we've seen issues, there's reported issues, there's people across the state on election day, both during the June primary and during the November elections, saying there's issues at my precinct, whether it's in your case with a judge reporting a non-state, non-elected official, like an employee for the company that makes the machines, transporting the USB drive to, I believe in Beulah, there was an instance where a gal got denied her right to vote because they had the wrong address on the books for her, on their poll book, even though she had lived there like 20 years. Out in Dickinson and a couple other places, people were having to fight to be able to vote, even though they were citizens of North Dakota and the United States. They were being told they weren't citizens.
Yeah, we had that in our precinct as well. A gentleman that was here has been living in North Dakota for 23 years and has always been an American citizen. He came up as a non-citizen.
The one that killed me, though, the one I thought was the best about those non-citizens, one of the people that happened to was a candidate.
Yes, I remember that.
Was a candidate, was told he's not a citizen.
Oh.
So you guys have a couple different things going on here. We have the election initiative where we're trying to get rid of the machines.
Yes.
A lot of people have asked the question, well, in Century Code, it says that we have to use this equipment to do our elections. And for once, I don't have that number off the top of my head. But correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, wouldn't the Constitution supersede our Century Code?
Correct.
Yes.
Constitution's always first. Century codes can come and go.
Yeah. I mean, we just had a special session where they had to get called back because the bill was ruled unconstitutional. So, I mean, at that point, that will change Century Code. The legislators are going to be pretty busy. Before we get more into that, though, why don't you tell me a little bit about the parts in here regarding collecting of signatures and stuff? Because I know you guys had kind of some focus on that too. Who can initiate measures? Who can gather signatures? And then there was the line in here where no shall be enacted limiting how circulators of a petition may be paid. What brought about that particular part of it?
About the petitions being paid was the fact that in North Dakota, and we're seeing it right now with our petition, a lot of times you can't get people to go out and do something without giving them an incentive to do it.
Yeah.
Because they're taking time off work to pass these petitions to get the signatures. So they should be able to make a bit of money while they're doing that. We ourselves are not paying anybody to do this. The people have to have a passion for it to actually go out there and get those signatures, because our elections are very important.
Well, it's like I've seen on other measures where they're hiring signature gatherers at like $21 an hour, which, I mean, that's hiring somebody to do a job.
Mhm.
But I know there's been questions in the past with signatures and stuff where I don't know if you want to call it a number bonus or whatever, but would that be part of this, or is this just saying, hey, we're going to hire people to go around and collect our signatures that are from North Dakota?
This is just giving them the ability to be paid to go around and collect signatures. It isn't anything that's being broke down to say, we're going to pay you per signature. It's
Okay.
just they're taking their time to go out and do this. They should be able to get some compensation.
Right. And the key of it is, it's not, even though it's important to get the signatures, but the final result is once it's on the ballot, an opportunity to get on the ballot. Just because you get people getting signatures, or which you have seen in the past, Marvin,
Yep.
doesn't mean it's going to pass.
No.
The people, all it is just putting them in the ballot so the average person knows they have an opportunity to say yay or nay. That's the key. The freedom of that.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about that on Friday. It's not a matter of, or it was Saturday. It's not a matter of if you're going to vote for it. It's giving the people of North Dakota the opportunity to vote for it.
Yeah. And we've had quite a few people that have come up and said, well, I can't vote for this. And I said, well, we're not asking you to vote for it. We're just asking you to give us the opportunity to have it on the ballot so we can have people make the choice if they want to vote or not. And a lot of people say, oh, sure, I can sign that.
Yeah.
And that's what we believe in. I mean, like me personally, I don't believe in the term limit. I believe term limits is every 2 to 4 years with the voters going into the voter box. That's what I believe. But I wanted to give everybody a chance. If they want to have term limits, fine. If they don't, that's too. That's the choice that they have by putting it on the ballot. I think the voting box is to me is the term limit.
Well, and my big thing with the term limit petition, I mean, I wasn't exactly quiet about it either, was I wish it would just said 16 years instead of 8 and 8, because we have 3 seats in every district. Say you get to the end of 8 years, you've elected 3 good candidates to your district. Now only 2 can run moving forward. So you're losing a good representative in the process.
Right. But that's the choice the people made. That was their choice, but you gave them that option.
Yep. And we saw how much the Legislative Assembly fought that, didn't we?
I did not like that.
Well, and it's bad when you hear stories of legislators in the hallways, the older ones saying, well, people aren't going to know how to do this. They're not going to know how to do that. You're not going to know. Well, how many of our legislators have been there 30 plus years?
And still don't know a clue what's going on. And they forget who are the most important people, we the people. And you can see that with the last session and even this week. It's not about us anymore. It's about them.
Yeah.
This actually, and again, this is my personal opinion. I believe with this election integrity, the main thing it's going to do, not just give the rights and the freedom right back to the individuals, but it's going to cut out the pay to play. I believe that people who should not be in office will not run because they know somebody's not going to fix the numbers for them to win. This is going to be a straight up honest, and if you're not an honest individual, it's going to eliminate it. It's going to also give individuals who really want to serve. Because right now, knowing what we do know about the elections, most people, good people, honest people, constitution-minded people who want to do the right thing are not going to waste their money knowing that when somebody can sit in a basement and still win while they're campaigning left and right. And I'm not talking federal, I'm talking even state,
Yeah.
where you're going around on all these counties, all these different parades and all these different things on like Larimore Days, Northwood Day, maybe all these different days that people could go to. And they're wasting, spending a lot of time. And next thing they know, they're losing at the voters booth by a lot. And I'm like, he never went out. How is that possible? That eliminate all of those errors. It'll give each and every person. No one doesn't mind rooting for an underdog, but people don't like it when they cheat in the game. People, even Americans, we don't like. You see it in the football games when the refs are cheating and all this. We don't like that. We like an honest game. And if you're outnumbered 3-1, spending whatever it is, but at least you're putting up a fight. And people like that when you have a fighting chance. And this election integrity gives everybody a fighting chance. Everybody can be part of something. Everybody will know that when they run, that they had an honest election. And that will give peace and security in each and every person, knowing that, hey, look, the better person did it. This is what the people wanted. Not assume, guess so, and like, why bother? We don't need that. We have more people in North Dakota that have great suggestions, great ideals to bring forth to make this a better state, that love this state. But I'm not going to buy a boat with about 20 holes in it, knowing that I'm going to sink and I can't move that fast. I'm not going to waste my money on it. I'm going to put something in that I know that I have an opportunity to win. And you know what? And if I lose, I would say, hey, good job. You did better to me. And people don't mind that.
One thing I found funny during my run, after we did the newspaper thing, the newspaper debate, with myself and Michael Howe and Wrigley and Lamb and Jeffrey Powell. I didn't think I saw Michael for the rest of the entire primary. I saw his mailers.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind knocking those off. Like I said when we were on the show with Trent here, like, I don't care what our presidential candidates look like standing on the stage. I want to see them come around and tour rural North Dakota and pull out their soapbox like they used to. Let's eliminate all the flyers and all the attack ads and all the other stuff. The other thing I found really interesting is instead of seeing a lot of interviews from Michael, Al was on the radio constantly. Now, I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
So that eliminated the equal airtime thing, because if Al was out there talking, I didn't have a chance to get on air with him. So I got a kick out of that.
That would eliminate, I would say, a majority of those issues. I know, because if I correct me wrong, but you can't use your office to campaign.
No, not really.
No, there's nothing is not real.
I know. I was
either you can or you.
I mean, technically, he wasn't campaigning for anybody, but I also heard rumblings coming out of that office that Michael had gotten a tour back in May to introduce him to his staff. So I got a kick out of that too.
Did you? I take it you didn't get a tour.
No. I work for a living, Michael. Like, it's hard for me to get away from my desk.
Wouldn't have been, but
I could have scheduled one. Yeah, I could have scheduled one. But
they could have offered you one.
Yeah.
And if you had the choice of saying, "Excuse me, I'm working for a living" or not, that's what I'm saying. Make everything fair. If he's going to have somebody speaking for you, you should have another official speaking for you.
Yeah.
It's a fair thing to do. That's why we want fair and free elections, while everybody is equal, and let the people decide who they want to be elected. You can't say, okay, Marvin, we're going to have a knife fight at 30 paces. but I'm banging a high-powered rifle.
I don't know. I saw a pretty cool
And
knife.
here you are with your penknife. You got a penknife against a high-power rifle. Where is that? And that's what we're going to. That is what most people says. Why should I go in there with a penknife when I know they're going to outgun me and outshoot me and everything and cheat?
Yeah.
This makes it even.
And with the current problems that we have with our elections, there's been so many people coming up and saying, I don't even vote anymore because I don't think my vote is even getting counted in the first place. That's
It
not
is.
good.
Actually, they are, but they're counted differently.
Yeah.
Counted for somebody else.
Well, my thing was, and I've had people say this to me, but how many elections did we have in 22, either during the primary or the general, that were within a couple votes? How many of your city councils were 1 or 2 votes apart? I know in Bismarck we had the school board where they had to go through and recount everything because it was like 2 votes off on 2 candidates.
Yep.
So to say your vote doesn't count is kind of redundant, because in recent history we've seen it, how close these races are getting, because people got passionate after 2020.
Yeah.
The question,
Marvin, I think
Yeah.
it's where in known races where people see that their vote didn't count. That's the discouraging part. Yes,
Yeah.
we know in the small towns, well, when you got a town of 30 to 40, yeah, Larimore, we only got 1,200, but you're looking at voting eligible people, maybe 400. And just in my ward, we usually run about 50 to 60. So, yeah, when you got 2 candidates, 3 candidates, it does. But when you're talking like Fargo, Grand Forks, Bismarck, Monarch, those big cities where you know that they're swaying the vote, that's where a lot of the people are starting to feel, no, my vote don't count. And we need to remove that. And that's what this election integrity bill is all about, is to remove those doubts that you're going in there. If I put John Doe as a person, it's going to John Doe, not part of your vote going to John Doe, but all of your votes going to John Doe or Mary Doe.
Mary Doe, huh? That's kind of redundant. Section 10 here, you guys moved the recall. Any elected official of state or of any county or of any legislative or county commission district shall be subject to recall by petition of electors equal to, it used to be 25%. Why'd you guys drop it down to 10 in here?
Because it's kind of hard to go out and get signatures, especially when we're ending up in the wintertime. It's hard to get your signatures that you need. So we dropped it down so it'd be easier for people to try and get the signatures on their petitions as well.
I know in Grand Forks, in one ward, where they wanted to do a recall, dealing with this food thing, trying to get 25% of the people is almost impossible because they're related or threatened, and you just can't do it. Should make it as easy as possible to do a recall on somebody. Now, more people say, well, everybody's going to start doing recalls left and right. No, not when you have fair elections, and it still has to show that recall has violated, that individual violated to generate a recall. So it's not like it's just like that, but it should be easier to do so. And with the law, with some of these small areas, if you, like I said, you got, say, like 60 people in this one ward, 40 are family, another 10 are friends. Good luck on that one.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sitting and reading as we go here. Section 15 was all voting will be completed only on election day. Early voting is prohibited. Now, this came up a couple times in here, but what I find really interesting, and it's kind of been an uphill battle here in Burley. The auditor Mark Splonskowski has sued Erica White, who's the former election director of Burley County, who's now our state election director, over this very matter. Have you guys heard anything more with that lawsuit other than what's in the news, or?
No.
I know even like the county commission has brought up his ability to sue, but as an auditor, according to Century Code, he's the one that's supposed to administer the elections. So it's been kind of an interesting go around there. I want to see how that ends up getting ruled on, because that's going to kind of set precedents nationally, really.
Yeah.
And if they just dismiss with prejudice, I think I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
Well, I think this really addresses it, So.
Yep. What about military? Crystal Sue, absentee balloting. Absentee ballots are still allowed through the petition here. They're getting rid of mail-in ballots. Now, there's a very drastic difference between these two. The mail-in ballots, AARP can sit and request thousands of ballots to mail out to their guests in Fargo or their customers in Grand Forks, or you talk to anybody about this, and I have. Organizations can request the mail-out ballot sheets. So it's not the ballot itself, but they send out these, here you can get your mail-in ballots, and they send it to all their customers around a region, which I support the absentee side of it, because we do have 2 military bases in North Dakota, major ones, and then you have our National Guard members. You have our members that serve nationally, where they may get called out suddenly and frequently, and they need to be able to vote. I mean, that's
the same with medical.
That's what the absentee ballot was designed to do. It wasn't designed to say, oh, I have a football game to go watch in Minnesota on election day, so I'm going to ask for a mail-in or absentee ballot. No, if you want to vote, go to the poll on election day and vote. There are extenuating circumstances, so it is a good question about the military. Our military members get deployed all the time.
Well, so, even if the person wants to go to that football game, they have to go in person to the court or to wherever they're going to get the absentee ballot and say, I'm requesting one. They have to do it in person, which is a big difference. So if they want one, they can still go ask for one. Now, mailed out to them, and like you said, in ARP in groups or batches, and wind up in hallways.
I've had a lot of people saying, during the November elections, we have snowstorms and people won't be able to get to the polls to vote. But these are the same people that will not miss an NDSU or a UND football game either, or a hockey game. So they'll drive to get to that football or hockey game, which does nothing for them. Where if they drive to the polls and vote, their vote actually can make a change in how their life goes too, because they're actually getting a say in their government.
And those polls are open all day, and normally the snow removal is constantly out there, especially if you know it's election day, that the counties will be and the cities will be clearing roads to make sure that people can get in and have easy access to vote. So, and it's only 5 to 10 minutes depending on where you're at.
Here's the line I wish you guys would have added to this. Election day is a holiday.
That would have been nice.
That was thought of, and believe me, but I don't think, and I'm just saying, and I could be wrong, that is something that, again, everybody that would be a separate issue as far as election day. It's not saying we can't do it later, but that is something that if people want to do that, we can always add that election day would be a holiday. And I totally agree.
Well, and the other thing people need to realize, if you eliminate these machines, we're going to go a step backwards, yes. But it should also mean we can sell these things, get rid of them, even if it's pennies on a dollar, turn around and put that money to having more precincts open.
Yes.
But the legislature should also be providing funding for having polling open.
They normally do. This election, no. Fargo's getting ready to have a special election here was it December, Lydia?
Yes, in December.
In December. All the machines are gone. They're doing paper ballot.
And they'll be hand counting. They're using paper poll books. So they pretty much took a page from our initiative and they're going to put it into action because they won't have access to those machines during their special voting in December.
Because they're being refurbished.
Yeah, well, it's also curious that, Fargo was the first city in the entire nation that went to ranked choice voting. So there's that, which is section 18 on here. This is one I have a little bit of an issue with. I don't like ranked choice voting. We're going to get that out of the way right now. But according to our founding fathers, the power goes to the lowest level first, right? Your township, your county, your city. Does this infringe upon that sort of thing? Like, is that something that could end up as a constitutional challenge?
No, I don't think so, because the power drops farther to the we the people. If
Yeah.
the person, if you have 100 people, 51 voted for this person to be first, then that person should win.
Yep.
Every other person who has X amount of votes coming in second, third, and fourth. That is taken by ranked choice voting. You are subserving the voice of the people at the lowest level.
Yeah, and so like that's one of those things where that one was a question, like, can this be challenged? And so
Anything
that
could be challenged. Anything could be challenged.
Yeah.
The fact that how are you going to defend it? If a majority of us voted for this person and this person winds up coming in third because of ranked choice voting, then the people, their voice wasn't heard then.
Yeah. So, well, and it goes back to that whole home rule charter thing that we have going on here. So that's always fun. The one I was glad that you guys fixed was actually in section 9. Originally, you had completely struck Article 4, Section 16, regarding to the legislator's ability to make
changes,
amendments. And I'm glad that you reworded it, because my fear was by removing
Marvin,
Yep.
could you read that? Because most everybody don't know what that is. Could you read it? Or
Let
matter
me,
of fact, which one you talk about, could you read it? Because they don't know. They probably don't have it.
yep, let me find it here. It was one that I actually had questions where I reached out to other people on too. So, I mean, it was North Dakota Constitution amendments. Normally I have all this stuff right in front of me because Shilo spent some time talking. So Article 4, Section 16 is the legislative branch. Originally, you had struck out Section 16, which was any amendment to this Constitution may be proposed in either house of the legislative assembly, and if agreed upon, a roll call by a majority of the members elected to each house must be submitted to the electors. And if a majority of the votes cast thereon are in the affirmative, the amendment is part of the Constitution. Now, my fear was with doing that and striking that particular line, it was going to remove the people's abilities to vote. Now, what I like what you did with it instead is now in your section 9 here, Notwithstanding the Legislative Assembly's authority to propose amendments to this Constitution under Article 4, Section 16 thereof, the legislature may only propose a constitutional amendment with a 2/3 supermajority of votes in each house. Any amendment to this Constitution initiated or referred shall only be placed on even year November general election ballots. In any case of a conflict between any provision of this article and any other provision of this Constitution, the provisions of this article shall control. Now, that was a very smart rewrite, and I appreciate the fact that you guys did it, because that was kind of a huge hang up for me. To see that update in here was nice. But yeah, the only other kind of concern or question that I had on this was your Article 23. Or Section 23, this article is self-executing and effective retroactive to June 1st, 2024. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be about 2 weeks before the primary takes place, right?
Yes.
Does that mean the primary will have to be recounted?
No, it shouldn't have to mean
No.
that at all.
Okay.
No.
We're just saying that if it goes through and it's voted on, then it went into effect on June 1st. And
Okay.
if it doesn't win, it doesn't, it's not going into effect.
Yeah. Well, I'm just making sure we don't run into a sore loser situation where somebody goes, oh, this passed. Everybody used machines in my district.
No, it just shows that that November's election will be paper. That's all.
Straightforward. Yeah, and so I mean, where do you guys? How's your reception been when you've been out in the public with this?
It's been very good, at least where I've been at. I mean, even when I was down at the DOT this past Monday, we had a few people that walked by, asked what we were doing. We told what was going on, and they said they had to think on it. Well, they went into the DOT, came back out, and many of the guys were like, I thought about it, and I did have a lot of questions with the election. I can sign that, and he says, if I change my mind, I don't have to vote for it when it comes up. And it's like, exactly. This is just to get it on the ballot.
Now, with winter setting in, how long do you guys have before you get this all submitted? Or
Well,
what's your delivery date?
February 12th is the delivery date.
Okay.
And we're going to be setting up in Gateway Mall in Bismarck. So we're going to have people that will be manning a table starting November 1st through February 1st. So like people in the Bismarck Mandan area or people that are coming to town to do shopping, they'll be able to find us at the Gateway Mall right next to the Rocking 50s Cafe. And they can sign a petition there.
I think they're doing the property tax there too, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Perfect. So, I mean, there's a place in Bismarck you guys can go sign, which is nice.
Yeah.
One thing I got kind of a kick out of is like, Sarah's like, well, how many copies of the petition do we have printed off right now on the property tax one? I'm like, well, we have 6 or 7 that I think are printed. And she goes, well, we should bring them with us to this place. I'm like, yeah, but remember, we got to witness every signature. And she's like, oh, that's right. And that's something you gotta be careful of when you are collecting signatures, because that became kind of an aha moment this last year, didn't it?
Yeah, so right now I don't need Attorney General's office busting in our doors. So
well, and it wasn't just the term limit one though. It was that single item one got thrown out because of signatures again too, didn't it? Who keeps bringing that forward, by the way, Coach? Do you know? A constitutional amendment can only have one item on it, or can only discuss one item. This is like the 7th or 8th time this thing has come around. And not only does it come around as collecting signatures, it goes through the House. I think it's gone through or they've tried to pass as a concurrent resolution like 3-4 times now too. Like, at what point do you say, okay, we give up, we're not going to try this anymore? Because that's a lot of money wasted as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
good at wasting money.
Very much so.
Yeah, well, we saw that, right?
But just like Marvin, I totally believe, and our group totally believe, the issues that we see in our legislators doing, I believe this Election Integrity Act will nullify it. I think we will have a better government within the next 4 years, because people, like I said, people who are running on other people's shirt tails, it nullifies that. It really Marvin, you're a working individual. You will have equal fighting on whatever office you have. Don't matter if the guy has millions or no other dollars, equal. Because you know that when you go in there and the people go in the voting booth, it's on the merit of what you said and what you said you're going to do. Knowing that makes the ground easier. Knowing that makes the people come out and vote. Knowing that you're going to have better electors, our government here in the state of North Dakota, not wasting money because you're electing, and the people know more about. People know who these individuals are that are running for as our legislators. They know that now we got some good people running, and the way it should be, that if you're running for a legislator seat, you should have 4 or 5 people fighting for that one position. That's what's going to make the big difference. Running for state offices, you should have 4 or 5, 6 people, not your holy child that been blessed because they did everything for the last couple of years. As I say, none of that doesn't matter anymore. It won't, because people know, nope, my voice count, it's going to go for this person, because we know that the elections are not the way they should be. Did I say that correctly? Nice.
I think so.
I'm trying to be very tactful here on your show here.
No, and you're doing great. Like I'm literally just reading through here because I did make a bunch of notes for myself while you were talking. Like I'm 100% listening to you, but I get asked a lot of questions about this. Like Shilo and I have had a lot of conversations about this, and I know he was super upset he wasn't going to be able to be on tonight because, as you guys know, he's been very involved with this stuff.
But I need something to share because your listeners need to know. Lydia, you went through the counting class, the ballots. Explain the process in that, because people keep saying, well, it's going to take a lot longer. Not necessarily. Go ahead, Lydia, on that one.
Yeah. When we had Linda Rance here, Shilo actually brought her to North Dakota.
Yep.
And we had our class, and we were able to take and set up tables. So we've got 4 people. You have 2 people that are the judges and 2 people that are marking the ballot. So you've got a checks and balance system while you're doing this. And they average that you can do 50 to 75 an hour. And that would be no problem to get that done. And if it's a bigger precinct, we just need more people to do it. And I know there's been a lot of talk about we won't get enough people to actually work at the elections. But we had so many people in 2022 that were asking to help with the elections and were turned away. And I know that there's a lot of people in my area that want the chance to be able to be there to help count. So the fact that they are worried about people not being there to actually count these ballots, I don't think that's going to be the problem if they're thinking it's going to be, because people want to have a hand in helping with the elections. And it gives them power back, and that's what they want. People feel like they've lost so much power with the elections, and this will give them some power back with their elections.
And what's also great too, dead people can't vote on this process, or illegals.
Well, and hopefully it stops executive orders for shutting down our polling locations too, but that's a story
Yeah.
for a different day too, isn't it?
That's that's another yeah.
So
Unlawful executive orders. You have to put that in.
unlawful executive orders. Yeah, let's add that to the mix. Um, so if you guys get this passed, what's your next step afterwards? Like that'd be a huge win. Like, are you gonna keep the momentum going, or Lydia, is this your one and done?
I have no idea. I'm just focusing on what we need to do right now instead of planning other things that I have to do in the future. So right now, this is the mission. This is to get the votes for this, to get the signatures on the petition so that we can get it on the ballot and give it a chance for the people to vote yay or nay for it. And if it goes through, to see these machines removed so we can actually have some elections that we can feel that we have accountability for, that are actually being able to be audited.
Yeah, I honestly think that if we're going to be taking the step to scan these, like, you still should obviously keep the petitions. I think that, or not the petitions, the ballots. I think that's federal law that it's 18 and 24 months. It's just mimicked in North Dakota.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I am
right,
actually,
that's federal, but I think we have it where you have to keep them longer.
yeah, and what I would actually like, if we're going to sit and scan these, why don't we just have an archive created at the state library? You know,
Can't get it. Well, that's
Yeah,
the law already.
let the public
No,
get into the state library then.
no, where it's a scanned archive that you can look up on the state sites.
Oh, yeah, that's, I believe that's in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it says I think up to 6 years, but I'm thinking more in like that forever category.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can get into the state library. I have a state library card. I've had one since
I was thinking the state law library.
Oh yeah, well that's a different animal completely.
But now with the whole being able to view these ballots,
Yeah,
that's going to be fun, because right now it's, you can go to the Secretary of State's office to try to view papers, and they don't have them there for you to look at. They haven't put them up for the public to see yet.
well, and like I had somebody reach out to me about that too. This back in, it was like January or February, they sent an email to 3 different organizations within the Capitol, and they were looking for legislators' statements of interest. And Legislative Council referred them to Secretary of State. Sorry, it's been a while since I've read that email. Office of Budget Management referred them to the Secretary of State because they deal with business listings. Legislative Council referred them to the Secretary of State's office because they take care of the statements of interest. And the email that they got back from the Secretary of State, because they had asked for 20 years, I think, or something like that, 25 years or 26 years worth of statements of interest. And they got told from the Secretary of State's office it would cost them $5 per name per year to get that information.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Marvin, but aren't they called public servants?
I honestly think that their oaths of offices and their statements of interest should be public record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every candidate's got to fill one out. You had to fill one out, didn't you, Michael, when you ran for governor?
Yes, I did.
I had to fill one out when I ran for Secretary of State. But I'm the crazy one that thinks that if you hold an elected office, you shouldn't be able to do business with yourself while you're in that position too.
Yep.
Legislators, city council members, county commissioners, as long as you're holding that seat, as far as I'm concerned, there should be a 4-year grace period before you can do business with yourself.
Exactly. Not get up and maybe not go there.
Yeah, that's a different animal too, isn't it?
Those I have to grab my hands there.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, Michael. Like, we shouldn't have to fight for this information.
We should.
No.
And I know Lydia has been fighting. We've done a lot of fighting trying to get information, and it's shutting. We should not as much money, and you heard early this week, Doug Burgum will talk about how many millions and billions of dollars that we have.
I can play the clip for you if you want.
I almost said that other king that maybe not. Anyway, so all that money, but we have to pay $5 a copy, all this other stuff, our money to get information that should be provided to us. It should never be that way. If I need 40 copies, you get an intern from out of the college and you can bring them in and give them part-time, and that's all they do. They should have all the information that when we need as taxpayers to get that information easily. We shouldn't have to fight. We shouldn't have to pay. We pay enough. I mean,
Well, we're in a digital age. It's not like it was 20 years ago where somebody'd have to go bust open a Rolodex, go find the key for the filing cabinet that's down on the 16th floor and haul it up to the Xerox machine on the 20th floor, you know?
I know.
Everything's digitally scanned. In fact, a lot of the campaign filings are done online.
Yeah.
You know,
But they're still not available to the public yet. Because I
exactly.
talked to the lady in the Secretary of State's office. I said, well, how long have these this information been digitized? And she says, oh, many, many years. I said, well, why has there been no access to the people yet? And she just stood there and stared at me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, folks. Like, transparency. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And that's why I am the first person to not call people out by name when we're on the show and when we're doing stuff. I'll refer to the governor as the governor. And it's because it goes back to that old biblical saying, you know, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. I'm not saying I'm without fault.
We all have faults.
We all have our faults.
We always want to do what's right.
But when we have these conversations like this, transparency, just providing that little bit of information that you were looking for, Lydia, how much would that have calmed your doubt?
Oh, a lot. You know, I would have known it was there. I would have been able to view it and see it. And then I could have said, well, okay, everything's up and up.
Michael, in 2020, with the precincts and everything else that you were dealing with, like they gave the mail-in ballots their own precinct that had no people attached to it. Being able to see the amount of mail-in ballots or how many people were in that county or have access to that where you didn't have to fight auditors, how much would that have calmed your questions about the elections?
You know, this is what happened with that. Just in my county, I didn't go to the auditor. I went to the sheriff to look into this information. Our sheriff took a couple of days and said, no, I'm not going to look into it. I said, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to send it to the Attorney General's office. I said, okay. I made an appointment, went to the Attorney General's office, sat there and asked him, I said, did you look into what the sheriff said? The sheriff, he said, pretty much quote, pretty much in these words, yeah, I'm not going to waste 2 officers on this. I looked at it for 10 to 15 minutes. No, I'm not going to, there's nothing there. I said, you are not going to look into it. He goes, no. And I'm not going to waste 2 officers. That told me everything I needed to know there about what they want to do as far as fixing the issues, not just in our county, but any other county that you're going to discuss this. Again, this is another reason why we're doing this, because it's eliminated. You have to track each precinct. You can't make ghost precincts. Every person has to be accountable. So if you got 100 people in your county or your city or whatever you want to have, you should have 100 results, not 110, not 120, but 110. this is why this is so important, because there's individuals that don't want to fix this. And yeah, and and I know we talked a lot. There's a lot more of these nightmare stories all around the state. A lot more. Some of them we forgot, with people picking up our own little 2,000 mule here in North Dakota. It has to eliminate all of that. So to me, I'm not angry or bitter. I'm just like, okay, we just fix it. That's what you do. If you see something broken, you don't just keep dumping money. You who want to do what's right, we're going to try to fix it. And that's what me, Lydia, and the people that we're with want to do. We can't fix our nation, but we can fix North Dakota.
There you go.
That's all you can do. So all we want to do, and hopefully we're praying that if we do what's right here correctly, like with this amendment, it'll catch on to the rest of our nation, because France is doing it, and they have 86 million voters. So if they can do it in a night, I believe we have the technology and know-how and the gumption to do it here in the United States. So yeah, I think all it did was motivate me so we could fix it. That's all we can do.
Yeah, and that again goes back to that transparency, folks. One last thing here, just to kind of touch base on what Coach was talking about. I'm going to share this. So I waited about a week after the election, before canvassing happened, and I reached out to all of the auditors. All 53 counties got the same email question. What Coach was talking about with these precincts, folks, is like you'll have your in-person precincts, and you'll have your mail and your absentee ballot precincts, stuff like that. Knowing what I knew coming into my run from 2020, I know there was a lot of questions about that stuff. So part of being a statewide candidate is I can request information like this afterwards. Like, I wasn't challenging the election. I wasn't fighting the results. I just wanted the math. So question one I had asked these guys was, how many mail-in and absentee ballots did your office receive per precinct to be processed on or before the 5 p.m. on June 13th, which was the day before the election, which is when that needs to stop, which is part of Mark Splonskowski's lawsuit right now. Verification of absentee voters. That stuff was there. What was required at the polls, because I heard that out in Fargo, and this was after the fact, in Fargo there was an opinion that was issued that there is not currently steps in place according to the Attorney General. If somebody says that they're a citizen, you have to take it at their word. You can't question it.
Sure.
And it was pushed to the point with some of these poll workers that if they were told if they were questioning it, it would be harassment or racial harassment or something. It was pretty crazy.
Hold on a minute. There was another issue in Fargo. They were taking college students that would go and vote at that precinct, then go back to their own town and vote there. So they're voting twice.
Yeah, and some of the other stuff that I had asked, did your county allow early voting, which was whatever? Is there a camera on any Dropbox locations within your county? Now, I made my run around the state. We actually took pictures every place that we stopped where there was a Dropbox, and whether or not they had cameras, where the closest camera was at, stuff like that. So I already knew kind of the answer to that one. But one of the interesting ones that I had asked, how many people reside within your county? And then the other part of that was, how many people within your county are eligible to vote? Only about half the auditors responded to me. The first half, like, responded, gave me all the information. Like, here you go, boom, 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 boom. Took them like 2 minutes to do. Of that remaining half, there was either zero response, or there was the, oh, we'll get you these after the final count is done, or we can't provide this information because we don't have it. Now, I found that interesting because, Lydia, one question I did have for you. At the end of the night, according to our election books, did you get the final printout to hold on to as an election judge?
I wasn't told about that in June, but I'd heard about it, so I called the Secretary of State's office to get all that information. And I did get my one for November. And the auditor was irritated that I asked for it. And then I told him, I just talked to the Secretary of State's office 2 days ago, and they said I can have that. So he had to hand it over.
Well, it was part of the election book. One was supposed to go to each judge, and then one gets filed with the auditors.
Yep.
And so many people don't know about it. If you're judging an election, folks, and they are using that machine, you can get the final printout at the end. It's part of the election book. I know it's like 26 or 27 pages long. I don't know what the new one's going to look like, but in there, it says that you can have a copy of that printout. Now, the thing that sucks about that printout, and I know because I had a judge give me one of these, it's on thermal paper.
Yep, and it just starts to erase. It gets heat to it and it goes black. So it's no good.
Yeah. So I found that it was interesting too. Like, your car, you leave it on your dash, you set it someplace warm for too long. Thermal paper is the same thing they use for printing out your receipts when you order stuff at a restaurant.
Yep. Yep.
Give it some heat, it starts to fade.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You guys have stuff you need to add? Sorry, I kind of busted your chops a little bit.
No, that's actually, you did really good, Marvin. We really appreciate the question. Believe me, we already had our chops.
Well, you know,
dessert. This was good.
For those people that actually know me, it's, I mean, one of my common phrases is, I have a question. And it's not because I'm trying to be difficult. It's because I want to make sure at the end of the day, if this passes, we're not scrambling to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that if it passes, the legislators aren't quickly finding loopholes to shoot it down or make amendments to our century code that work around what's in the Constitution, because we've seen that. We've seen it with the Common Cores. We saw it with the now we're dealing with it out in Fargo. The Legislative Assembly did the whole protection bill, and the principal superintendent in Fargo is just straight up denying it. Or you look at critical race theory. They did this great big bill that caused all this fighting in 2020 over critical race theory not being taught in schools. They just slap a different name on it and send it out the door.
Yeah.
So I ask these questions because I want to make sure if this passes, there's not those loopholes where somebody else can just slap a different name on something and pull the wool over everybody's eyes. So I do appreciate you guys. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to stand up and do this bill to begin with.
This is a, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a constitutional amendment.
Yeah, it is a constitutional amendment.
So the legislators just can't slice that. But the first one was working in the century code, but this one here is different. It makes so it's a lot harder for this legislators to do anything to this.
They'll still try. We saw.
Well,
they'll still try.
4 years from now, we won't have to worry about it from them trying because we have those honest people in there.
Yeah.
That want to follow the Constitution.
And that's my last thing I got for everybody here. It's November, almost. We're what, a week away from November?
No, I know. So fast.
So we're under a year away from the general election, or almost under a year away from the general election. And we're just outside of 7 months for the primary. I still want to know who's running. Reach out to us, folks, because if you're new to doing this, you need to be on the ground now, especially if you're in a district or if you're in a city or a school where there's people established and embedded there. You can't wait another 8 years for them to be termed out of office. So if you're running for your local house, if you're running for your local school board, start talking about it now, start door knocking now, and start getting to know your neighbors now.
Well,
Because I know, Coach, you traveled all over the state when you were running for governor.
still planning on doing it because I'm still running for the office of governor.
Yep.
But trick me once, shame on you. Trick me twice, shame on me. Before I even go into first or second gear into this, we have to fix our election. I have to first get this done. Otherwise than that, it doesn't, it's like fighting a 5-story house on fire with a squirt gun, because it's nuts. But if we get this turned in February, then I know, and everybody will know, they will have a fighting chance. And that's the key. That's the key, you know. So, and people need to know, like you're saying, if you're going to run for a senator or some type of legislator or some state office, these individuals need to know that when they're running in, I don't know so much about June, because they may have the machines, but definitely November. The sweet thing is, we didn't share this with you, but there is some counties that do want to start going to paper ballots. And hopefully we get a chance to talk to Fargo County commissioners, and if they would keep the paper ballots, that would be a key factor on even for June's election for a majority of people, because if a lot of counties are already going paper ballots, that's already trend. That's a trend. And it's a lot less, believe it or not, expensive than the machines. The machines have to have people brought in, do the uptake, make sure that everything is running, making sure the certification, just like right now, Fargo, their machines are gone because they need to be overhauled or updated, whatever. That's a lot of money just for that. Paper ballots, they're for that county. You can use them June. They're good. You know how many people you're going to have. Again, if you got 1,300 people in your county, 1,350 ballots. That's it. How much does it cost to count to make those? You got your volunteers, the machines, no nothing. Actually, it's going to be a lot less. Which brought up something that Lydia, we were talking either today or yesterday. We do talk a lot. That North Dakota used to do paper ballots a lot, and I remember counting paper ballots in Grand Forks. All that information and the requirements for the paper ballots, she couldn't find. It's all gone. It's been deleted.
We're looking for the statutes that used to be in place.
Oh, you got to follow the century code back.
Yep, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it stops right around 1996, 1998. Hasn't been scanned in yet. You're going to have to find physical copies of it.
Yep.
So I know, because I've rolled back that far.
96. And who keeps a copy of the 1996 century codes?
Well, and I was following back. I don't even remember what I was following back. It was back when Stenjum was a senator, though. So I mean, I was back there a ways because I saw Wayne's name pop up on our roll call, but I couldn't find the actual bill itself. It's like, dang, we're back there a ways.
Go back to a ways. So yeah. So as far as going, the legislators coming up with costs, I really don't think cost is an issue here in North Dakota, with the billions we have. I want you to put that in perspective. Everybody keeps coming up with costs. It's going to cost this, cost that. Do you see how much they're wasting in the state? We could cover all of our property tax and any other type of taxes, and we still have oodles and noodles of money left over. And you know what? And that it has been said, well, who's going to cover the cost of that and pay for? We have the money. When you're in the billions and you got to pay for a population of 750,000, there's not a lot of expenditures going out.
Well, and what did Doug say in his press conference the other day? They were $323 million in surplus from the end of April to the beginning of June.
So how much do you think it cost to run an election in the state of North Dakota out of 750,000? Remember, out of that, you only got maybe 250 to 300,000 that do vote or should be eligible to vote. Let me put it to you that way. And it might be less than that for eligible voters. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not. One county's budget could probably, Grand Forks County budget they spend will cover the whole state for paper ballots.
Oh, well, before we get off, you guys got anything else for me tonight? Anything else you want to say? Other than we're going to see you at Gateway Mall here for 3 months straight?
Yep. So if you want to sign either that property tax or the Election Integrity Act, we're going to be at the Gateway Mall. And the people will be there from 2 to 6. We'll have people there hopefully earlier, but from 2 to 6 each day, there will be someone there to collect signatures.
And we are looking for circulators. If you want to help with the petition to help with this Election Integrity Act, please contact Lydia or me and we will get you one. And also, I don't know his website, Rick Becker's website, if you want to end property tax. But for us, we have to turn in by February 12th. We would like to be done way over by the middle of January, which I believe we can do. But we need your help. This is an opportunity for you to get your voice back. Not just signing our petition, but help getting signatures for the petition.
Tell you what, rolling into the holidays, just set somebody at the table dressed up like Santa.
Yeah. Well, have the petition there and pass it around to all family members who can vote.
Right there.
It's like, you want a slice of pie? Can you sign the petition first and you can get your piece of pie?
Well, I mean, if you pledge $1, I'll give you a $20 gas card.
No, ain't going there.
No, well, yeah, that's okay. That was
okay. We're done. Sorry, it's been a day.
Oh, but you had to say it, which is true. It's like everybody's thinking it. He pushed it.
All right, we got somebody just commented, got mine last week. We'll be out and about in Williams County next week. So
thank you very much.
Right there. Again, folks, if you have more questions, go to our website. Go to HDD podcast. Click on tonight's show link. I have the link to their website right there. I have some of the documentation that we talked about throughout the night, stuff that was submitted during session. It's there for you. Same with the property tax initiative. Go to the night that we had Rick on. Just click the article, scroll down, the website's right there. So you can read it. I believe the contact stuff for you guys is on your website too, correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So if you have more questions, you want to help, you want to volunteer, please reach out.
Right. I want to say this here so people understand. For our Election Integrity Act, our petition, you cannot download it, or you could, but we prefer that you don't. Ours is a colored green, a certain type of green, and we have them numbered. So we track them to make sure who has them. And also, we are trying to do, hopefully this coming Monday, we will have our first circulator Zoom call. So hopefully you will get a message stating, hey, look, we're having a Zoom call. That way, if you need to discuss any issues that you're running into, or if you're not comfortable and you want to ask questions, me and Lydia will try to do the best we can to help you so we can get this done. Remember, this is about your freedom. If our elections are gone, our freedom's gone, because that's how we put people in office. And what we're trying to do with this group is give your freedom back. And this is something, it's not about a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing, a libertarian. It's everybody. It's we, the people thing. It's even if you don't want to vote, give an opportunity for somebody else to help with this, because this is about your kids. Because if we don't have fair elections, we have selections. And if we have selections, you're not going to like. This is almost like a socialist type government, and that's not what we want. We want it back to be a republic. The republic is each and every one of you have a choice in who you vote for, good, bad, or ugly, but it's your choice, and we want you to have that.
I think that's a perfect way to end this, Mike. It's a good spot to end, Coach.
Thank you, Mark, for being on here. Really,
yes,
we really appreciate it. Because
it was great having you guys.
I wish Shilo was here. I do pray for him and that he be safe out there, and the person that had the jackknife of the vehicle. And I continue to pray for him and his wife, and your wife too, Mark.
Yeah, and like I said before we had started here, Shiloh's okay. It's just because of his job and what happened. He had to go to do an on-site inspection. So
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to do what, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have a job we got to do, right?
Yep.
Right.
This is everything else that we do beyond that is because it needs to be done, not because we necessarily want to be doing it. we shouldn't have to be doing it, but no, because yeah, but you guys are amazing. Again, folks, if you have any questions, hit our page so you can find their webpage. It's easy, it's there, it's accessible. Again, you're just by signing, you're not saying necessarily that you're going to be voting for it. You're giving everybody else the opportunity to vote.
Yes.
And that's what's important. Right. All right. Well, you all have a great night. And
you too.
God bless. And Tuesday night, we will be on with Dave Rotman with the NDGOP.
Is that at 7 on Tuesday?
8 on Tuesday. I'm not sure who our Friday guest is yet. We have a couple irons in the fire. I even reached out to Sandy's office to see if she wants to come on. Just do a GOP week next week. But yeah, we're always busy. All right, guys. You have a good one.
All right. Take care.
Good night.
Yeah.